I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and today I'm speaking with Joel Gallen, who is the Emmy-nominated director of the Chris Rock special Selective Outrage, which is nominated for Outstanding Directing for a Variety Special. First question I wanted to ask you is, what sort of work do you have to do to prep for taping and I know you didn't tape it, I know it was live, but for broadcasting an event like Rock's stand-up special?
Well, I think again, I came into it with a lot of experience doing a lot of other live shows over the years. So, I sort of came in somewhat prepared on what we're going to have to do. And Chris really had a specific point of view of how he wanted to approach the show too. So we basically just collaborated and sort of put our teams together. And the first thing was obviously to find a venue that's available on the exact date that Netflix gave us that they wanted to broadcast. And that became a challenge because we originally had discussed doing this in Atlanta, and the venues that we wanted in Atlanta weren't available. So then we found a great venue in Baltimore, which was another choice that Chris made, and that worked out really well. But once we have the venue, then we go and we scout the venue and we make sure that it's conducive to do a live show. Is there room to park the video trucks? Is there room for this? Is there room for that? Is it have certain type of grid there that we can bring in the proper amount of lighting? Is there good support space? That kind of thing. And then we sort of just start assembling the team, and also how we prepare for the show is somewhat unique also, in the sense that Chris actually came into the venue a month before the show to do some practice shows so he can really get a feel for the venue, get a feel for the audience. Then he went off and did some other shows around the country, and then came back and again did a few more nights leading up to the actual night that was live. So I mean, I look at it as I prepared for it like I prepare for any show, which is a lot. It's a lot of work, and it's a tremendous team effort. You have to really put your faith into certain department heads, especially your tech manager, your line producer, obviously your lighting director, your production designer. We took a lot of time trying to find the right set design. And again, Chris's input was there every step of the way. It wasn't like he just said, Joel, go give me a show, because I was the producer of the show too, not just the director. It was very collaborative every step of the way, both the producing and even my directing, as far as, which camera angles worked best. Chris looked at that also, the lighting, the set design, all of that stuff, very collaborative. And Chris and I we've known each other for years. We obviously did a special together back in 2004, Never Scared, that we did also in the DC area, actually in DC.
That's where I am right now.
At Constitution Hall. So it seemed like, so we did DC last time, now we did Baltimore. So both in the same vicinity. And like I said, and plus we just became friends and have known each other for a while, have hung out. So it was it was a very fun, stressful, but fun endeavor, I should say.
Did the added aspect of the show being streamed live over Netflix provide its own set of challenges to you, or was it just still just like it was being broadcast on a network?
No, this was much more challenging because Netflix broadcasts in 4K, as you know, and most networks don't. Most networks are just standard HD, and when you try to go live in 4K, it's a huge mountain to climb. And, other than sports, not a lot of variety shows, as far as I know, have ever done it before, not to mention the added pressure of this being the first ever live broadcast on Netflix. No pressure at all. And, you want that to go off without a hitch, which thankfully it did. Then they also added the idea of a live pre-show from LA, which they brought in, thankfully, another production team to do, because I had my hands full there in Baltimore. But yes, to answer your question, it was a very challenging process. Also, because the truth is, a lot of our team, which had a lot more live experience than anybody at Netflix, we were sort of, as we were doing our job, we're also training Netflix. And, working and collaborating with them on a daily basis, on a minute-by-minute basis, because this was a whole new world for them. And so and that was sort of exciting for us to be able to work with them on that. And obviously, hopefully, we'll get another chance to do it again. But to answer the question, yes, this was a much more difficult process than doing a live show for a regular TV network.
Some I've always been curious about. How do you go about getting the reaction shots from the audience for different jokes? Do you scout like where you want to put a camera before, or do you how do you make that decision about who you're going to incorporate there?
It's really all gut. There's really not a lot of planning when it comes to audience shots. I always have, in this particular case, in the Chris Rock show, I had, 2, sometimes 3 cameras, but mostly 2 cameras always shooting the audience. And my instructions to my camera people is, find people that are laughing, obviously, which hopefully is everybody, and mix it up. Sometimes it's individual people. Sometimes it's a group of 2 or 3 people. Sometimes it's a bigger group of people. So it's always like different kinds of framing and different kinds of shots. And if you hang out on one group of people and they don't laugh at a joke, move on to the next people. And if they're laughing at a joke, then stay with them. And then hopefully I'll find in my rhythm a time where I feel like I want to cut to the audience. But I really don't go into a show like this thinking, okay, after that joke, I'm cutting to the audience. After this joke, I'm not cutting to the audience. After the, it's really more just an instinctive thing where I feel like I can feel the audience's energy, and I know where my camera men or women are shooting the audience. So, in my mind, let's say it's camera 5 and 12, those numbers are in my mind. And sometimes I'll cut to those cameras without even knowing if they have a great shot, because I trust my camera people. They know my taste. I know their taste. Chris does this great joke. Sometimes I like to stay on him a little bit longer because he's doing some face, or he's smiling, or he has a little button at the end of the joke that I don't want to miss. And then I'll go to the audience. Sometimes I'll go to the audience right on the punchline. And sometimes I'll go to a wide shot instead because I expect a bigger reaction or a big wide reverse. But do I map this out? Do I storyboard it? I do not. I do it just from years of experience and just good instincts, good comedic instincts, I hope. And that's what you get, So, I don't script the show like that.
How many cameras were you working with for this special?
Man, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was 12 or 13 cameras. I think it was 12 or 13 cameras.
So, we've talked. We were actually talking before we started recording about some of the other work you've done. You've done so much live television over the years, starting in the late '80s and going through the '90s and 2000s and 2010s. I'm curious, as it's such a specific type of directing that you do. How did you start becoming someone who works a lot in live television?
Well, it started off that I was a producer before I was a director. So I did not go to film school for directing or anything like that. I just was a very passionate producer that was doing a lot of music and a lot of comedy shows. And I sort of developed an instinct of what I thought looked good on camera. And I would take a lot of the director's cuts that weren't live, shows that I did that weren't live, and I'd be the one in the edit room, working with the editor on what shots worked here and why we should be on a close-up here and why we should be on a wide shot there, et cetera. And after several years of doing that, I decided one day I should hire myself to direct a show and see how I do. And I was able to do that at MTV. My last year at MTV, this was 1992, I was executive producer of all the Unplugs. And we were doing a crazy day of Unplugs. We had 3 Unplugs in one day. We had Boys to Men earlier in the day, and then in the early evening we had Mariah Carey, and then at midnight, this is all the same day, same stage, Kaufman Astoria Studios in New York. The third Unplugged was going to be Pearl Jam, brand new band. I loved them already at the time, but their album had only been out for like a month or 2, their first album, 10. And I just sort of went to Doug Herzog, who was my boss at the time at MTV, and said, look, I got Larry Jordan directing the Boyz II Men and Mariah Carey thing. He's probably going to be really tired, even though he probably wouldn't have been. And I love Pearl Jam. So how about I direct the Pearl Jam thing? He goes, sure, absolutely. And that was it. I loved the experience. That was not a live show. We were able to, obviously edit it, although I felt like my line cut was pretty good. But after that, I started directing more stuff. I started directing other unplugs. I directed the movie awards. I directed this Bon Jovi special. And then when I left MTV, it started becoming more of just a part of my routine that I would produce and direct shows, whether they were taped or live. And I didn't do it with every show, but most shows to this day that I'm producing them, I'm usually also directing.
One of the things about live television that I'm sure is like, but how we always say, anything can happen. And I'm sure even when things look like they're going very smoothly to the people viewing the program, there's a lot of chaos behind the scenes, I can imagine. What's the craziest moment, at least that you can think of off the top of your head, that's happened during a live telecast that you were a part of, and how did you react in covering that?
Yeah, there's so many things that come to mind when I think of, the live television and things that maybe went off the rails a little bit here and there. But the one thing that jumps out to me, and I don't necessarily want to name this person, but I will say this. I was doing a live show for VH1. I think it was like in around 1999 or 2000. It was a live show. It was for the Save the Music Foundation. It was in a tent on the White House lawn. And, with all dignitaries, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton were obviously there. And it was all these dignitaries and amazing musicians and amazing celebrities all there to celebrate this cause and sing great songs and tell great stories and things like that. And the show was supposed to be a live telecast starting at 4:00. So I'm on the truck and I'm ready to go. And around 3:45, the president of VH1 at the time got up on stage to make a speech and also present Bill Clinton with a signed guitar of all the artists that are on the show. And this show was star-studded. It was Eric Clapton. It was Lenny Kravitz. It was, Al Green. It was Garth Brooks. I mean, it was like Sheryl Crow. The list went on and on and on. All great people. All signed this guitar, and he was going to present it to Bill Clinton. Now, he told me he was going to do this before the show, and he said, I'm going to do it at 3:30. Anyway, so now it's 3:45, and he starts his speech, and his speech is going and going and going. And then he asks Mr. Clinton to come up on stage. I think Hillary came up with him so he can present him with this gift. And now it's like 5 minutes to 4. And I'm like, the show's live in 5 minutes. What am I going to do? He's the head of the network, But I had no VH1 executive in the truck with me to tell me otherwise. So my job is to go live at 4:00. So he's still on stage with the Clintons doing this presentation. And now it's 3:59. It's literally 1 minute before we're live. And I just say to the stage manager, I'm going to get on the essay and I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And you just sweep everybody off the stage as politely as you can, and then get Eric Clapton out there because he was going to open the show on an acoustic guitar doing a classic Robert Johnson blues song. And we're going to go live at 4:00 because that's how we're cold opening. So I get on the PA and on the sound system, on the speaker, and I say, hey, we're going live in 1 minute. We need everybody to clear the stage. Enjoy the show or something like that. And we accomplish it. We get the show on the air exactly on time. We make it just by a few seconds. We're scrambling, we're plugging in, we're doing this, we're doing that. Bill Clinton was almost like a stage manager for me. He was helping get the people off the stage, getting in their seats. And the show goes off. First commercial break, I get a very agitated voice in my ear because this person who I took off the stage was very angry that I would do that in front of the President of the United States. So he took one of the cameraman's headsets and started yelling at me on the headset. And And I thought I was just doing my job. And he said, well, on these circumstances, I should have put up a please stand by, or I should have ran a music video. I should have done this, should have done that, none of which we were prepared to do because I was not told that there need to be a plan like that. But anyway, that to me, when I think of live TV and having to react in a moment, even though this was a moment that was really happening before we were live, that's the thing that comes to mind first and foremost. Hopefully that works. I can't think of it like anything disastrous happening on the air. Maybe because we did a good job and we really, we had such a good team and we were so organized that I can't really tell you an exciting story where like something just flew off the rails in the middle of one of my live shows, but I'll continue to think about it. And if I can think of something before the end of the interview, I'll let you know.
We are an awards website, and you've been nominated for several Emmys over the years. You've won one. You won outstanding, I believe it's a variety special for the Amazing America Tribute to Heroes concert in 2002. I very, very, very vividly remember watching.
The Emmy was 2002. You're right, but the show itself was obviously 10 days after 9/11.
Yeah,
in 2001.
I vividly remember watching that, and especially like seeing Bruce Springsteen sing "My City of Ruins."
To open the show, it was heavy. It was heavy.
What was that experience like for you to win? Not just winning an Emmy, but winning for something of that magnitude and that had that kind of gravity to it.
I mean, honestly, I felt like I should retire. It was like I was asked to do something that I never got asked to do before. Something so important, to use our knowledge of producing entertainment programs and to put something like that together in 6 days, I think I had for all of the networks. First of all, it was such an honor to be asked to do it. And then to pull it off the way we pulled it off, and nobody got paid for doing it. And, everybody volunteered, and celebrities and musicians flew themselves in, whatever it was. It was just a really special, incredible moment. And then to get recognized to win an Emmy for it, to win a Peabody, to win a Producers Guild Award, to win a Directors Guild Award, I feel like this is it. This was my calling. I did it, and what am I going to do? I go back to producing some other award show or some silly music special or comedy special, because that's how I felt. I felt like this is it. This is it. How can you top this? But somehow I went back to work and still had fun and still continued my career. But it was an unbelievable experience, and especially that show live, going out to all over the world. Speaking of live shows and live pressure, and we were not only based in LA, we were in New York and we were in London. Everything happening simultaneously live, and with so little time to prepare. It was certainly the most important show I've ever done, and certainly, gave me a memory, as they say, lasts a lifetime. And I still get choked up thinking about the show, just thinking about sitting in the control room, not only producing it, but directing it. And as it was happening, the emotion I felt, and then to go win an Emmy. I remember, first of all, Ellen presented the Emmy, which was great because at that point, I'd already done 2 of her HBO specials. So I knew Ellen really, really well. So it just felt comfortable doing that. And I do remember I forgot to thank one person, but I remembered everybody else. And it was, for some reason, I don't remember being super nervous up there accepting the award, but I just felt so good. And I felt like it was so deserved. And so many people needed to be acknowledged, which I did, except for the one person that I forgot. But there was so many people involved. So I made up for it on the next award, though, and made sure that person was thanked first. So that was good. But yeah, it was just the whole journey of doing that 9/11 show and what it led to was just incredible. And of course, soon after, I became the go-to disaster guy, because then 4 years later, Katrina happened. And I got asked to do a very similar show to raise money for all the victims that were affected by Katrina. And then another, 5 years later, Haiti happened, the earthquake in Haiti. and I reunited with Clooney, and we did that, and that was broadcast all over the world also. So, you know, luckily, there have been disasters since then, but I feel like the whole idea of like, let's call Joel and do another fundraiser for this disaster, I haven't gotten that call for 13 years now, so that's good. I'm happy not to get that call. That's better.
Well, Joel, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best over the rest of this season. And to all of our viewers, please like this video, share, subscribe, and don't forget to keep going to goldderby.com to update your Emmy predictions for the 75th Emmy Awards. Thanks so much.
Thank you.